Welcome to another episode of Seeing Them Live, a podcast featuring memorable concert stories from live music fans. Everyone has a concert story, and hopefully, one day, we'll hear yours.
We were just having a good time, and in the middle of the performance, Buddy breaks a guitar string and hands his guitar to his son, and his son looks at him like, you know, what do you want me to do? I'll get you another guitar. And he did. He handed him another guitar. But I said, I'll change the string for you. And he goes, here, sure. And so I'm holding Buddy Guy's black and white polka dot Stratocaster.
Oh my God.
On my lap like a baby.
Yeah.
You know, and I changed his guitar string for him.
Our guests today are Ray the Roadie and Hollywood Mike. Ray and Mike are the hosts of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast, which is a weekly show featuring interviews with bands and musicians from the Chicago area. They also talk about the history of rock and roll in Chicago, the current state of the scene, and the challenges and opportunities facing musicians today. I'm joined today by my producer and co-host, Doug Florzak, and we are recording this episode in a studio located inside the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 in downtown Joliet, Illinois. This is the same studio that Ray and Mike record their Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. Ray and Mike, welcome to Seeing Them Live.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good. This is...
And we're seeing them live.
We are.
Yeah.
Normally we're looking at people on a screen through Zoom, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. That's tough to do. I don't like doing those. So.
That's the way we did it during the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, this is great. We're in this glassed off room. It's acoustically nice. We're like located right in the gift shop. It's really a cool little setup. I thought you guys filled out your guest form and such.
Yeah, I think I did mine first.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I'm a procrastinator. In fact, that's the name of my next punk band, the Procrastinators. We're gonna come in behind the beat always.
Well, yeah, Mike, you seem like a busy guy always. You seem to be playing it pretty much every week with your band. And I thought maybe you could do both of you do a little brief introduction beyond what I just did. You got a couple bands, Cadillac Groove and Mike and the Stillmasters.
Stillmasters. Yeah, that is correct.
Stillmasters. And then you have a few songs, solo stuff I saw online. I listened to like a Incubus.
So
you covered Incubus song.
Wow, you're the guy that's listened to those. Wow.
Yeah, so you got a lot going on. You come from a long line of working musicians.
I sure do. Yeah, it's. I actually did it one day. It was weird. I met a guy by the name of, he goes by Mojo. He's a friend of mine. We're both members of the Elmhurst Masonic Lodge, and it turns out that he was in a band, and he fronts like a Zydeco band, and he recognized my last name immediately because he actually lives in Louisiana, which is where my entire family from. That's where my roots are and the whole bit. And he says, I know about 100 of your cousins. You know, you got like 100 cousins out there. And we do. We have a huge family. He says, I play with them all the time. He started naming off cousins of mine that I didn't even know. And so I Googled everybody. And so I just Googled Matoyer, musicians. And I was shocked. There was like 200 people that came up. Record producers, movie producers, television producers, working with, scores on Hollywood movies and the whole bit. And I guess the one that's probably the most notable is there is a Tony Matoyer, who was the guitarist for Four Non Blondes. He was on the album where they recorded that's their fame, the one hit wonder, the song What's Up and stuff. He was the guitarist and stuff in that band. And I was like, wow, maybe I should start taking this a little more seriously. Because that was 20 some years ago. But yeah, I've been playing in bands for a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say your band Cadillac Groove. I don't know what you would call a connection to a member in your band, the saxophone player, Kevin,
right. Yeah.
He played at my wedding.
Oh, no kidding.
In 2007.
Wow. What band?
With the Flat Cats.
That was his band. Yeah, that was his band. We met Kevin. He actually called us up one day. I had been in Cadillac Groove for maybe about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm thinking it was really early on. And I get this phone call from Tom, our band leader, says, hey, we're going to be doing this really cool thing at this place called the El Macambra, I believe, on the north side of the city. This band, the Flat Cats, it's for a swing night. Yeah. And so what they want us to do is they're going to get up and they're going to play like 3 or 4 songs. And then Cadillac Groove is going to get up and play 3 or 4 songs. But the way we're going to do it, like first the saxophone player is going to go up and he's going to replace Kevin, and then the guitar player is going to go up and he's going to replace their guitar player, and so on and so forth. So by the time we got halfway through the song, we switched all the musicians over, but it was the same song. So it was like live band mixing.
Wow.
is what it was. And that's how we met Kevin. And yeah, and he became a friend of the band, and eventually he decided he wanted to play in Cadillac Groove full time.
So now you guys are swingers?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. We're swingers.
Okay.
Yeah, we got pineapple shirts.
Not that there's anything wrong with
Not
that.
that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were, as you know, they're a great band. And it was when they had their previous lead singer, her name escapes me right now, but they did this song by Tennessee Ernie Ford,
Oh, wow.
16 Tons.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a spot where she pauses,
Right.
and then she just belts out the chorus or whatever. And, you know, the guests at the wedding are like, this is the best band I've ever seen at a wedding ever. You know, They were really,
They were a
really
fantastic
something
band.
else.
They really were. Yeah, really were. And
So,
I'm pretty sure they're still around too. Kevin,
yeah.
I think Kevin plays with them on occasion and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
my wife and I saw them in Taste of Westmont on Memorial Day weekend this past summer. So yeah, but yeah, I thought I had to mention that. And then Ray, you're Ray the roadie. You did a lot of roadieing work.
Yeah, I did some in my days, and back in the days when I did play a little bit and stuff, and did a little roadieing, and then I was a firefighter for 28 years. So pretty much everything came to a halt. There was no time for pretty much anything. But I retired back in 2017, so I got back into working with the bands and doing stuff and starting a podcast and doing more stuff now than I was when I was working.
Well, looks like you got a pretty good setup here, coming out of retirement.
Yes, they provided us a very nice studio here at the museum.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the podcast and the museum and such in a bit. But I thought, like we do with our show, we just kind of go back and forth with some of the information you guys filled out on the guest form. So, Ray, we'll start with your first concert was it kind of threw me for a loop a little bit when I was searching, because I was searching Chicago and the band and then the cities popping up. So, but I think when you saw them, they were called the Chicago Transit Authority.
They may have been. They may have. It was really early on.
Yeah.
And the Pointer Sisters opened up for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And and at the time I didn't know. I remember I didn't know who they were, and I was just like, who are these chicks? And I'm like, they're not bad, but I want to hear Chicago. And it was in the beautiful confines of the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Which, everything sounded terrible there.
Yeah, I actually went to the very last show at the International Amphitheater, which was Iron Maiden and Judas Priest.
Oh, wow.
So that was a good way to bring down the house, I guess,
literally.
which was already coming down, I think. But the Pointer Sisters were the opening act, and I was doing some research, and that was like before they had made it.
Yeah,
big.
they were just coming up.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then, Mike, you were talking about your first concert was you saw Billy Squier with Def Leppard. And
Billy
I couldn't tell.
Squier and Def Leppard.
It was unclear to me who was opening for whom,
Yeah. It was, it was kind of strange because I had a friend who had an older brother who was into harder rock. He's the guy that got me into stuff like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. And he comes by one day with the Pyromania album from Def Leppard. I was in 8th grade. We're sitting on my driveway with a white plastic turntable that had a speaker built in. And he goes, "Oh, you got to listen to this band." And then a few months later, he says, "Hey, my parents are buying tickets, to the concert. A bunch of us are going. Do you want to go?" And yeah, we went. We went with the intentions of seeing Def Leppard, not realizing that it was actually a Billy Squier show.
Okay.
So Def Leppard actually opened up for Billy Squier.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
None of us really knew who Billy Squier was, but we left Billy Squier fans because it was during that time where he recorded his album called Emotions in Motion. Everybody Wants You was the big hit off of that album right there. But it was great. We became fans of Billy Squier as well, but that was really interesting.
But then, Ray, your best concert you listed as a ZZ Top show, which I don't know. Did I put that at like 1991, maybe the Recycler tour?
Yeah. A guy I worked with, he was a lifetime fan club member, and he got tickets to every single show. And he also got backstage passes, so we got to see the show. And then afterwards at the Rosemont Horizon, we got to go in backstage and party with the guys. And I mean, it was wild. I mean, it was spread of food and booze and other things. And I think, honest to God, I don't think we left there till about 4 or 5 in the morning.
Oh, really? They all hung out there.
They all hung out after the show. I've always been a ZZ Top fan, but to be able to go back there and meet them and party with them.
Yeah,
That was great.
My mom, she took me to a lot of concerts when I was younger, and I saw them at Alpine Valley with the Outlaws in 1980
Mhm.
on the DeGuayo tour. And yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah,
It was a great show.
we were up there one time. There was a group of us went up for the weekend, and we were staying at the Abbey, and we were out by the pool, and just hanging out by the pool, and all of a sudden these 3 bearded guys come out. I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, it was ZZ Top because they were playing at Alpine Valley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, that was the last concert I saw. I saw ZZ Top at Ravinia this past summer.
Oh, okay. With the
With Leonard Skinner.
okay.
Yeah, or
Okay.
the remaining members of Leonard
Okay.
Skinner. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I kind of remember hearing that advertised.
Well, I saw ZZ Top in New Lenox last year, and it was the first show without Dusty Hill.
Mhm.
They had just sent Dusty home, and his guitar tech,
Yeah.
stepped in for him. So it was the very first show without him, and that was a Saturday, and then Tuesdays when he died.
Wow.
Did the guitar tech have the beard?
You know what? He had a beard, but I couldn't tell if it was real. You know, but
Yeah, he wears like a costume.
I almost think it's a costume. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like this, definitely some type of it looks like a fake wig,
Okay.
and he's got this beard that's like too perfectly trimmed. I mean, it's too perfectly just. So I think it's more of a costume that
Okay.
he's wearing. Yeah, but he fits,
Interesting.
but he wears all the matching clothes and the whole bit like you're used to seeing.
Yeah. Wow.
And it works.
And then, Mike, your best concert and inspiration for you to become a musician or guitar
Yeah.
player was a Buddy Guy show
Yeah.
in Milwaukee, which it was a county fairgrounds, so
Yep.
like an outdoor thing. And what struck you was his stage presence, command of the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd never seen him live before, and I'd only known of him from like my father or my grandfather
Mm-hmm.
telling me about him. And I had a friend that was really into his music. You got to understand, I grew up in the 80s. I graduated from high school in 1988. So at the time, good guitar players to me were Angus Young, or Slash from
Mhm.
Guns N' Roses. And, I loved like Jakey Lee with, Ozzy Osbourne. And I just couldn't play that way. I was perfectly happy strumming an acoustic guitar and being able to sing, and accompany myself singing. And so I was 23 years old, I think. And a friend of mine says, let's go and see Buddy Guy. I was like, sure, I'll go see Buddy Guy. Had no idea what he was really all about. But holy crap, what
Mhm.
unbelievable experience when a concert just inspires you to go home and just change your entire philosophy of music. And that's what it was for me, to see this guy come out and just hold an audience and command an audience. I mean, he shushed thousands of people. I mean, he's in the middle. He's playing this slow song, and he's got a guitar solo coming up and everything, and you can hear the crowd noise. People are cheering him on and everything. And he stops playing. And he goes, "Shh, I'm gonna go home." And the whole crowd goes, it was like there was a compressor effect on the crowd. Everybody could shut up to listen to what he was doing. It was great. It was,
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's awesome. And then you have a really cool Buddy Guy story as well.
Yeah.
When you were years later, I guess, right?
Yeah,
You were at
yeah.
Legends,
Yeah.
his club in Chicago.
Right. It's
I've heard this before. I'm going to go get a bite to eat.
Yeah, this is a quick one. He a good friend of mine had done sound for him and everything, so I have a couple of connections there. So I used to go every single year to see him, at least one of his performances in January when he would play his own club. And I was lucky enough to be in the VIP section most of the time, but this particular time I was with his son, and I'm pretty sure his son's name was Michael too. I can't remember too clearly.
Buddy Guy's son.
Buddy Guy's son.
Yeah.
And we were sitting down, having dinner, having drinks together, talking. We were just having a good time. And in the middle of the performance, Buddy breaks a guitar string and hands his guitar to his son. And his son looks at him like, what do you want me to do? I'll get you another guitar. And he did. He handed him another guitar. But I said, I'll change the string for you. And he goes, here, sure. And so I'm holding Buddy Guy's black and white polka dot Stratocaster
Oh my God.
on my lap like a baby.
Yeah.
And I changed his guitar string for him. And yes, it was the G string, the one that always breaks. And I said to his son, I said, I'm keeping the guitar string. And he goes, oh no, absolutely. Keep it. That's his favorite guitar anyway. He probably wants it back. So in the middle of the song, he switched the guitars and I handed him his guitar and I took his back from him and I stuck that string in my back pocket. And for that brief moment, I was Buddy Guy's guitar tech.
Wow. That's a great story.
At the museum here, don't you have?
There is one here.
There's one of Buddy Guy's guitars here.
Absolutely. There is one
For a
here.
nominal fee, I'd be happy to show it to you.
So I just want to encourage any of our listeners, if you're either live in Chicago or you come to the Chicago area, please put this on your to-do list and come to the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum in Joliet.
Yeah.
And you can see things like that.
For sure. There's actually two of his here, because I believe that Sunburst Stratocaster hanging high on the wall there, I believe that is one that he originally gave the museum. And then when he had the opportunity to give them one of his signature polka dot guitars, he brought that by as well. And that's the one that's in a case. And it's a part where people really can't get there yet, because the museum is really still under construction. They can come in and visit the gift shop and everything, but yeah, you really got to have connections to get back there and see the the stuff that's back there right now. So
That's a great story. I love that story. Well, not to bring down the vibe, but Ray, you had a disappointing experience with Alison Krauss.
Yeah.
At the Chicago Theater, right?
Yeah.
you're breaking my heart. I
Yeah,
love her.
well, back when I was married,
She's from Champaign.
I had a stepdaughter, and she was crazy about her, just crazy about her. And she was coming to the Chicago Theater. It was in the winter, probably December or something. And so I got tickets, took her to go see her. Saw the show, fantastic show. And we asked around. They said, yeah, they'll all be coming out. The buses are on the side. These are the doors that are going to be coming out. And some of the other band members did come out, and they said, oh yeah, Alison will be coming out here, and she'll talk to you and all that stuff. So 45 minutes to an hour, we waited, and a door about a half a block away opened up. She came scampering out, jumped on a bus, never came nowhere near us. And my stepdaughter was just devastated, devastated.
That's a bummer.
And it was a school night. I mean,
Yeah.
So the concert wasn't bad. You just didn't get to meet Alison.
well, yeah, she really wanted to meet her.
But
and she couldn't. We didn't. I mean, the show was good though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
I think she just announced she's playing the Chicago Theater. I think I heard that last week. They announced that. I don't know when.
Is she by herself? Because nowadays she's pretty much touring with Robert Plant, isn't she?
I think this is just her.
I think it's probably right. Yeah, but she is still touring with him.
Yeah.
I think I heard something that they're going to get together and do another album.
Oh wow, yeah.
What a weird pairing.
I know, but they're fantastic. they're wonderful together.
They're
Holy
great
crap,
together.
They're
Yeah,
so good. And who'd ever thought a young lady from Champaign, Illinois, would end up just touring with Robert Plant?
Right.
That's
that's nuts.
wow.
Look how organized he is.
Yeah,
He's
I
got
know.
things written down. You and I just got to go off the cuff.
Yeah.
We're never prepared.
I have to. You guys have so much stuff. I can't keep it all straight. Let's do most surprising, Mike. You went to this Billy Joel show, and I couldn't figure out what year it was. Like I had 1990 or 98. Or...
You know, I'm trying to think what it was. My wife and I were very newly married, so it was somewhere around, I want to say like 96, 97. It definitely wasn't 2000. And I'm trying to think the album. I don't even think he was. No, I do remember. It was the River of Dreams album.
Okay.
So like, songs like All About Soul and stuff like that were on the radio. And it was a last minute decision. We went with a couple of friends, and we bought the last 4 tickets in the auditorium, and we were dead last in the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I get this tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's one of his representatives. And he simply says, if you promise to scream and shout and dance and have a good time and have the most fun you've ever had in your life, I'd like to escort you guys down to front row. Billy would like for you to come down there and sit as his guest.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happened. We find ourselves in front row. I'm shaking Billy Joel's hand and stuff. He gives my wife a hug and everything. And every time he comes to the edge of the crowd, he's there, with us. I mean, it was just absolutely unbelievable. And I found out later on that he does that every performance. He does that. He sends people to the back row. He reserves the front row center for himself. He sends his people to the back row and the people in the dead last row. So a tip, if you're going to see Billy Joel, request seats in the very last row of the stadium.
That's good advice. Yeah.
I've seen Billy Joel myself like 6 times.
Yeah, I know, Doug, you've seen him 4 times,
yeah.
right? 4 or 5 times.
Way more than that. A friend of mine and I, this was way back when The Stranger first came out.
Yeah.
Which was kind of his first big album. That he had a few before that, but that was the one that was the big one. That was the breakthrough for him.
Right.
He lived next door to me, my friend. He actually was the best man at my wedding. And so we grew up as friends. And he said, you got to come over and listen to this guy that I got this album of, Billy Joel. And we were both blown away by it. And So whenever he came into town, you know, that would be like date night for us. We would bring whoever we were going out with to go see Billy Joel. So yeah, I saw him a lot.
Yeah, that album, The Stranger, was the #1 album. In fact, when Michael Jackson finally broke the record with most record sales, it was The Stranger that the Thriller album overtook. That was a unbelievably famous, popular album for him. My first concert was The Bridge. Had Modern Woman. Was the song was one of the big hits on that. It was the one after Uptown Girl, I believe. But that was my first concert that I saw.
It's a really nice thing to do. Okay, you talked me into it. We'll go to the front row.
Yeah. Okay. If we have to.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays, you got to hurry up and see them because I think they're all going to be stopping touring soon.
I heard that he is actually going on tour again. He retired from recording rock and roll music after he finished the River of Dreams album. He retired from it, and he did record a lot of classical music. You can actually look up Billy Joel classical music. That's what he wanted to do. And then he toured a little bit with Elton John for a while. And then I want to say within the last couple of months, I heard something that he's announcing some select dates around the country again.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
Yeah. So you got to get out and see him.
Guys, I thought maybe we could transition to, we could talk about local bands. I always had kind of an interest in this because I'd mentioned to Ray about the Champaign music scene in the mid 80s. I don't know if you guys ever were down there or did anything with those bands, but we had this local band. Well, I spent a semester down there, and just by chance, my friend took me to see this band called Otis and the Elevators.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And this was 1985.
We were just talking to somebody about Otis and the Elevators.
We were.
And I can't remember who we were. I think it was one of our own podcasts.
Okay. But we'd see them all the time. And then when I transferred, I went back to UIC in the city. My friends and I would drive down to Champaign all the time to see them, like Wednesday nights, go see them at Mabel's, which was in downtown Champaign.
Right. That's right.
And I know like REO Speedwagon used to play there.
I saw REM didn't even have an album out, I think, and REM played Mabel's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with local bands and Mike, your band, like just that feeling of the fans, because we were nuts for these guys. We made T-shirts, and they did have this level of success eventually. I mean, they owned that club Mabel's. They would sell it out, and the place was awesome. And then they ended up opening up like for Stevie Ray Vaughan 1 or 2 times. And then the last time we saw them was towards the end of their run. They were playing at the Riviera Theater in Chicago. And they opened up for the Vulgar Boatmen. They were very popular at the time. That was like 1989. But Cadillac Groove, do you have crazy fans like that, or people that follow you around? And
I wouldn't say crazy fans. You know, everybody in Cadillac Groove, we're all north of 50. So our demographic tends to be between the ages of like 45 and 65. So nobody goes too crazy.
That's our demographic too, and Wrought Iron Soul.
Yeah, but I mean, they are loyal fans. You know, I stopped going to big shows a long time ago. It's been probably 20 years maybe since I've been someplace like the United Center or something like that. Because for me personally, I like the personal touch that you get when it's an intimate show, and it might be somebody who's local, who's kind of had a little bit of success. And I think the reason why we, in Cadillac Groove, and of course in my own band, the reason why we have such a good time with our shows is because the people that come out and see us, I don't know, the word starstruck isn't correct because we are not stars. I feel like they're family. We don't call them fans. We call them our friends, right? And the fact that they know that we want them to come up before the show and say hello or say goodbye as they're leaving and come up and talk to us. And we tell people that all the time, you know, because we hear, you guys were great last night. It was great. We're hoping to see you next week too. Well, we didn't know you were there last night. Come up and say hi, you know, come up and say hi and hang out with us for a little bit. And I think that is what people like about the local music scene.
Yeah. And then I've seen some video of you going out in the crowd and stuff. You get out there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Why not? You know, make everybody feel like they're a part of the party.
Yeah. Buddy Guy would be proud, man.
Like I said, that's one of my main influences, and that's the exact reason why. Buddy Guy does it every single time he plays. He's out there in the crowd, right? And I figured I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah,
you know?
That's cool. Did you guys want to talk about your podcast a little bit?
Oh, no. We don't even talk about that. No, it's not really. Yeah, of course we do.
Yeah. This goes back to, and Ray, feel free to correct me here, but back in 2019, right?
Yeah, about 2019 is when we first started.
Yeah.
And that was me and Paul Martin from M&R Rush, and he was my original co-host. Took me a few years to talk him into doing the podcast because he had no idea what it was. And when he kind of understood it, he wasn't sure what I was thinking of would work. And once we started doing it, we both found out that it really does work. You know, basically what we're doing is we're trying to talk to the band. So, you know, everybody's got fans. The fans see you up on stage. They listen to your music. They love you. They know nothing about you, nothing about your history, how you started to play, how the band came together, or whatever. And people seem to like to hear about that kind of stuff. And Paul was with me for about 100 episodes or something. And he had to leave and retire. So Mike came on board, and he's been 2 years now.
Yeah, 2 years. Can you believe that?
2 years. Yeah.
And how many episodes? Gosh, it's because we're up to 300 something.
No, 217 I just loaded up. So
okay.
We did probably over 100.
Yeah, over 100.
Yeah.
Over 100 episodes.
Yeah, because I think you joined maybe episode 114, 15. It was that band Joker, I think, was the first.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Gosh, I don't even remember them all.
Yeah, I look at some of these episodes and I'm like, I swear we just talked to these people
Yeah.
a few months ago, and it's like last year.
Right.
Well, we've made a lot of good friends too.
Yeah, it's a great concept.
Mhm.
And I've learned a ton from just like, oh man, I didn't know that the guy from the Flat Cats plays in your band.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of a thing. It's very interesting. And you guys got, I'm sure, a whole slew of guests on the docket coming up for the new year.
Yeah, we do. It kind of slows down around the holidays. You know, our last show's coming out on December 17th, and then we're taking off for the holidays, and then we'll start it up again beginning of the year. But after the first of the year, we've got some stuff scheduled. We'll get more after the holidays are over.
Yeah, because I know, Doug, you were on the show, your band Wrought Iron Soul.
Yep. Yeah, we got some good response from that.
Yeah, it's good. We were getting people, so we were doing 2 on Monday and 2 on Wednesday, and we were just filling it up and filling up and filling up. We were telling people they were, interviewing in August, and we were telling them, yeah, your podcast will come out in December. But I mean, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I mean, they went through the tornado damage that ripped through town and the whole bit, and so there was several months where we couldn't get into the studio, but we had the backlog, and it caught us up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys got a lot of episodes, and I've listened to quite a few, and you record pretty much every episode here in the studio?
Yeah, every single one.
Every one.
We're toying with the idea of doing a live podcast somewhere. We haven't figured out the logistics and how all that would work.
But it's so inconvenient.
Yeah, here, just sit down, hit the button, and go.
This is a great setup.
Because when Cadillac Groove was episode 6.
Yeah.
And they brought their little doohickey here, and we ended up sitting in the back room of a restaurant doing the interview, because there was no studio. It makes it so much easier just to show up here and do it.
Yep.
As I mentioned, we're inside the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66. It's in downtown Joliet, Illinois.
Right down the street from the Rialto Square Theater.
Okay.
Across the street from the Forge. People know where all those areas are.
But yeah, they opened this like right before, or they started on it right before the pandemic.
Yep. When Ron Romero's the founder and the CEO of the museum. This was his idea, something that he wanted to do. And he was able to get this building in 2019. And it was just an empty shell. It's a former department store. I mean, it's been a number of things.
Mm-hmm.
And he got the building, and then the pandemic hit. So everything came to a screeching halt. We actually had the studio, the original studio here in 2019. And then when the pandemic hit, when that ended, there was no in-person interviews, and we started doing Zoom. And did that for a whole year until we were able to get back out here.
Because this is a fairly old building. It's 1930s.
Yeah, real old building. But it's getting all renovated, and it's looking beautiful compared to the way it did when first stepped foot here.
And it's important to mention that this is a non-profit organization. Ron Romero didn't open this up in hopes to become rich or anything like that. It's a labor of love for him, and it is a non-profit organization. So if you really want to help out, but you can't swing a hammer, donations are always welcome.
Oh, yeah.
And you can become a member of the museum, even though the doors aren't officially open just yet. They do educational things every once in a while. But you can become a member, and you're a charter member, right?
I am a charter member, lifetime charter member.
And it's unbelievably inexpensive to be a lifetime charter member, actually. What is it, like $200 or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And,
$200, and it's a non-for-profit organization, so you write it off on your taxes, and you're a lifetime charter member.
And you get a lot of benefits, a lot of great benefits. When the place is eventually open, there's going to be, 4 floors if you count the basement, but like the top floor, hoping to be like a performance venue up there. So we'll be able to have shows up there and have people come in, and it's going to be great once it's done.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard Ron talk about it. It's like a 25,000 square foot space,
Mm-hmm.
multiple floors, like you just said, Ray.
Right.
And do they have their own podcast too, guys? Do they?
They've got the Road to Rock radio station.
Yeah, Road to Rock Radio. It's an internet radio station.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an internet radio station.
Yeah, I was listening to it and I thought, wow, because it's all Illinois
All Illinois music.
musician, and you could see what was played and the variety.
Mhm.
Like Veruca Salt, Lonnie
Yeah.
Brooks, Wilco.
Yeah, you look at it and you go, I didn't know they were from Illinois.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you have an endless supply of people who could be in this museum.
And that's the reason for the museum. That's the reason for the museum. They've got one, I believe, in New York. They've got one in Los Angeles, and of course, there's the big Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. It's about time, you know.
Yeah.
Do they have a projected date when they're going to be formally open yet?
August of 2022. No, I thought at one point there was, but that's in the rearview mirror. So I don't know.
The first floor is getting real close to being done. The last major thing is the HVAC system. They just got some grant money to start putting that in. So once that's in, I don't see it being much longer after that. They started work on the second floor, painting and putting up walls and lighting and all that stuff. And as soon as that one's done, then they'll move to the third floor. Half the basement schools, there's classrooms down there, and they're going to teach everything from musical instruments to singing to even like lighting and sound engineering. They're going to teach that stuff. And then the other side of the basement is a rehearsal space that people can rent and rehearse.
That's great.
Just like our studio here, this studio is available for rental if you want to start your own podcast.
Yeah, this is a nice spot to start for sure.
Yeah, we may be back here.
Yeah. Is there any other aspects of the museum that you guys wanted to talk about? There's like a Hall of Fame too, right?
Yeah, there's Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, the inductions were supposed to happen in September, but then the tornado came through and there were some issues, and then it was supposed to be at the Rialto Theater, so they rescheduled it for another day. Then there was a conflicting date, so now I think it's going to be March or April. It'll be 2024 inductees. I think
There's been a few ceremonies.
I think we've had three years. You got to be from Illinois, some kind of Illinois connection, and they're doing everybody. They're doing DJs, they're doing bands, songwriters, all kind of stuff.
Yeah, I saw some of the examples of it on their website, and I think the band Train, they had like a person circled who was in the band.
Yeah.
And I started to think of like Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. One of the exhibits that we have here is the outfit that the bass player from Train wore in the Drops of Jupiter video.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, he's the one that recently passed away within the last year. Yeah. He's from Morris, Illinois.
Wow.
But we've got the outfit. It's the long black leather trench coat and the gold sequin pants back there.
For a nominal fee, I'll be happy to show it to you.
And for another nominal fee, you can try it on.
You have to wear gloves though, right? Anything else, guys, that you'd like to talk about as far as a podcast, or where we could find the podcast, where people can find it?
Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us. Our Facebook page, Rock and Roll Chicago Podcast. We've got a website, rockandrollchicagopodcast.com. There's also the shortened version of that, rnrcp.com, because I'm tired of typing all them letters. So,
yeah. And if you just Google it, every video just pops up someplace. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Mike, did you want to mention anything further about your bands?
Cadillac Groove plays every single weekend. So that's pretty easy to find us, just CadillacGroove.com, or you can find us on Facebook really easily. And then my other band is Mike and the Stillmasters, and we're on Facebook as well. And, you like the band, you'll get all of the invites and stuff there. I don't play nearly as much in that band, maybe 1 or 2 performances a month.
Is that more of a blues band?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Blues, Southern rock, a little bit of country in there. Yeah, it's just 4 of us, no horn section or anything. Although our keyboard player, Jeff, is an amazing trumpet player, so he does double duty. He's our substitute trumpet player in Cadillac Groove, and he's actually been playing piano for Cadillac Groove most recently because our regular piano player is healing up from an injury at home. So he's been doing double duty in Cadillac Groove as well.
Cool. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. Well, guys, thanks. for being guests.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
seeing them live and letting us use this awesome studio and checking out the museum, and it's really cool. So thanks.
Hey,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
That's a wrap for our show. I want to thank today's guests for sharing their concert stories with us. Make sure to check out our show notes at seeingthemlive.com for links to websites, photos, and other artifacts mentioned in the show. I also want to thank my producer, Doug Florzak. The theme music for the show was composed by Doug and is featured on his album, Flagstone. If you have a concert story you'd like to share on our podcast, please visit our website and click on Become a Guest in the main menu. Then fill out the form and click the Submit button. If you seem like a good fit for the show, we'll contact you via email. I guess it's time to head for the exits. We'll see you next time on Seeing Them Live.